5 o'clock work session for the June 19th Architectural Review Board is underway. First project to review is 117 East Cedar Avenue, interior renovations and dormers. Any comments from the board?
It looks to me like the changes that were requested have been picked up. The front window is the original size and configuration, and the chimney that exists is remaining in the project and is shown on the drawing. So for me, it's okay as submitted.
I agree. I was happy to see they're keeping that front window like we discussed.
Yeah, I agree. David, anything to add?
You're muted, Dave.
Oh,
hi. There I go.
There you are.
Can you see me?
Nope.
I don't like Teams, or I don't like Zoom.
We see you now.
Hi. Yeah. I'm good.
All right. That one is a public hearing. Right? So we have to do that in the regular meeting, so we can't pre-approve. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is the resubmittal of 116 Summit Place, new construction. Comments from the board on this project.
I had a few comments. So I guess one of them is at the rear of the home, the porch roof over the rear door. The geometry of that looks a little funny. I don't know if we make the columns taller or lower the roof down. But having wall in between the column and that roof overhang is just looking a little odd on that element. And then it looks like also on that rear elevation, the small window, the linear transom window, I don't know if it has the same head height as the rest of the windows or not. It looks like it's getting pretty far up in elevation. And then on the left side elevation, I noticed that the trim, so they've added a band board. And this might be graphics. I don't know, something I'd like to confirm, but it looks like the band board is thinner than the trim around the windows. And I think it should be reversed. I feel like the band board should be a thicker piece than the window trim. And there's also just a little sliver of siding that goes in between the band board and the trim. And it's going to be hard to install and probably not look that great. So I don't know if we move the trim, move the window, move the trim, try to resolve that little gap there. And then on the front elevation with the garage that steps back, it's taller. It has a trim piece, and I think, I don't know, I'm struggling with the placement of that trim. It just looks like I don't know if we should have the board and batten on that element or not and just leave that all horizontal siding. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what other board members have to say about that, or if that is a comment anyone else might have had. That's all.
I was expecting to take this call from home, but I'm at the office, so my drawings are at home. But my comments are about the Pacific, not Pacific, the East-West Street, which I think the windows on that facade would be appropriate for a side yard next to a house that's closer to it, but being on a primary elevation, it just seems so not composed. That large window on the stair, I know it's very important to the homeowner, which is fine. I just don't know how it could be better organized with the rest of the fenestration being a primary elevation like it is. like if the great room could be rotated so that the windows face the street, but then that removes a primary wall for them to put furniture on. So I get it, but I'm not sure if I'm offering a solution or not. I'm just saying that it bugs me.
Yeah, I was noticing some graphic inconsistencies. It looks like there's trim that's labeled at 5.5, but in some cases it's drawn wider than 5.5. In some cases it's drawn narrower, and it just makes it a little confusing as to what's actually being approved. So we might want to somehow address and clarify that. And then on the front elevation, there is a gable that's over the garage window. And that gable has the vertical siding and the horizontal siding coming straight together without a trim board. And I think they need to add a trim board there because all of those other junctures between the horizontal and vertical have one. So I think that would be appropriate. And just this is a minor item, but it looks like the column base is flush with the edge of the concrete. It sort of gives the appearance that those columns are like teetering on the edge. So I think it's a subtle thing, but I think it would give them a much more refined look to just add somehow adjust so they have a perimeter of concrete, even an inch or inch and a half between the face of the column base and the edge of the concrete. Let's see. And then just another little refinement item at the front porch roof. The front porch roof extends beyond the side wall of the house. And I think trimming that off would make it look a little more coordinated. And then I agree about the right side elevation. Something to break up that siding, especially since it does face the street, would be appropriate. Maybe adding a side window to bedroom number 2 and consider adding some high windows onto the above the built-ins in the family room. And perhaps a way to address that stair window would be to make it a bit narrower and taller, so they would still have the same amount of glass area and could still enjoy the view, but it would be more in the proportion of the rest of the house windows, just to make it look a little more composed, as David said. And then around the back, I agree with Tracy's comment about the section of wall that's there above the columns, maybe somehow adjusting the height of the roof or the column height, and maybe adding some perimeter trim just above the columns to make it look a little more finished, to give that horizontal siding something to die into, which would be more consistent with the rest of the house. I think that would help. And then on the rendered version, it looks like the steps that come out of that back door are kind of very short, and the trim doesn't really, the steps should extend and have the trim die into them. I think that would be, once again, that would be a minor tweak item, but I think it would make things look a little more finished and coordinated. And this is just a thought for the homeowners to consider. It's looking like their basement area just only has one window. And, those aren't things that are easy to add later. So I just want to kind of put that out there for their thought. Maybe they have thought about it to get some more natural light into the basement. This would be the time to do it if they wanted to do that. And maybe, if it would work out, they might even want to add a window into the basement stair to get some more natural light in there and help kind of provide some more composure to that right side elevation.
So it depends on whether you're looking at the construction drawings, or the rendered version, but it looks like, to me, verifying the trim size, most of the notes that I read say 5.5 inches. It doesn't always look like they're the same. One comment I think I heard you make, Tracy, is I just wanted to clarify what you said.
Mhm.
The window trim. So if the horizontal band and the corner trim is 5.5, then the window trim and the door trim might want to be a little smaller.
Well, I guess I'm looking at the rendering when I make that comment. On the rendering, it looks like it's larger.
Right. I
Yeah,
I think
but
for
if
our,
they're equal, I think that's okay.
yeah, so I think for my review, I was listening to everyone's comment, and I start I was looking at the renderings first, and I thought, well, a lot of the stuff we talked about, was done, and I think, the brick was improved. I think the siding getting cleaned up and simplified, worked really
Mhm.
well. The addition of the house, the windows, was great. Um, the question about the trim itself, I was seeing the same inconsistencies in the SketchUp or whatever that is. So I just started looking at the construction drawings, and it looks like that's what it's all. I mean, we could verify this, but it looks like it's all called out to be 5.5 inch to me, which I thought was fine. So even some of the lines in the construction drawings, it doesn't look like it's always 5.5 inches, but it's called out to be 5.5.
Yeah, I see that now. I also see party called out, but the keynote looks like it's calling out vinyl. Oh, maybe the
Yeah.
corner should. Well.
Yeah, I think some clarification would be good there because, like we've discussed before, if it's drawn one way but labeled another, it can be quite confusing, and ambiguous as to what's been approved. Like, if we say, here's a picture of our new family pet and we've drawn a dog, but it's labeled as a cat, we really don't know what we're getting. So,
Well,
That's four
I
legs.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, I think we need to be reviewing the construction drawing myself, not the SketchUp drawing,
Mm.
because that's what they were gonna submit, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, well, if you look at the front elevation and that uppermost window in the gable, that looks to me like that is distinctly larger than 5.5 inches, that trim.
right, I would
But
agree.
it's drawn as 5.5 or labeled as 5.5, I think.
Right.
So, yeah.
Um, yeah, I agree with the detail about the porch columns and the concrete just extending. That's pretty simple. Yeah, on the rear porch, I sort of felt like the horizontal that ties it all together, so maybe it's a little, I get like the height of it, to clear the door. But I did feel like the horizontal, beam, if you will, should be expressed similar to the front porch, where you have the horizontal beam is actually just wrapped. And if they want to put siding, maybe it's just at the gable end that's on the rear. That would help, for me, help clean that up. Or, raise the columns up.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty simple thing there. Yeah, and I guess the right side elevation, myself, I appreciate all the windows. I understand the question about the composition a bit, so maybe we can just have that discussion. I think that's just kind of, we're on my notes.
Sounds good.
All right. So at this point, we have 13 minutes, right? Jim, before we have the official meeting, correct?
Looks like the city's muted.
Oh, that is correct.
All right. So we got 13 minutes to pause before the official meeting begins at 5:30.
All right. I'll get back to my drafting for a deadline tomorrow.
Are you 2 blocks away from me, Dave?
3, but
Ready?
All right, welcome everyone to the Architectural Review Board regular special session. We finished our work session, so the regular meeting is now underway. On the call today is David Yates, Carol Dunke, Tracy Collins, and myself, Bob Buckman, all volunteer architects. And in City Hall is Jim Bailey and Joel Pugh with the city. Items to review today. 2 projects. Before we do that, we have a set of meeting minutes to review from June 5th, which I believe 4 of us are present for. And with that, may I have a motion from a board member on the meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the June 5th meeting minutes as submitted.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, the meeting minutes from June 5th have been approved as written. Next, we have 2 meetings. So when we want to read off the project, the city will add you to the Zoom call and we'll discuss your project. First one is a public hearing at 117 East Cedar Avenue.
I had no comments on that.
No, I think the question was, is there anyone online?
Oh, sorry.
It looks like the city's muted.
Hey, Jim or Joel, can you let us know if there's anyone online?
We
to
have
discuss that?
Axton. Axton is online.
Axton?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
This is Axton.
Oh, hi, Axton. Thanks and welcome. For 117 East Cedar Avenue, the board, I don't know if you heard our pre-design, but we really had no comments. We appreciate the revisions that were made, and we all thought it all looked good.
Thank you.
Since it's a public hearing, is there anyone else on the call that wants to make a comment on 117 East Cedar Avenue? And Jim, if you could let me know, Because
I don't see any. Do you see any, Joel? It doesn't look like we have any hands raised.
All right. Well, with that, then may I have a motion? From one of the board members, please.
I will move to approve 117 East Cedar Avenue as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, Axon, you're approved as submitted. Thank you and have a good evening. All right, next we have 116 Summit Place. Anyone online for that?
Yes.
Yes, this is Grace Clapper. I'm the property owner, and I believe the builder's also online.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay.
It's actually under Katie Bassman, but this is Jackie Needham with Lombardo.
Jackie and Grace. Okay, welcome back. A few things to clarify. I think for our initial review, a lot of the items we discussed look like they've been addressed. Appreciate the revisions to the brick and simplifying the siding and adding some windows. As discussed, it's very helpful to see it all. I think for our board, we would probably be wanting to just focus on the construction drawings. Because there's some inconsistencies between the construction drawings and the SketchUp model. So we can maybe just focus on the questions, if that makes sense, as they relate to your construction drawings, to kind of help expedite things, if that makes sense.
Yes,
The first question was the trim size for the corner and the horizontal banding appears to be called out as 5.5 inch, but also the windows. And, some of them don't look like they're drawn that way, but that was a question to clarify with you.
yes, all of the trim is 5.5 inches.
And then I think the other one I'll focus on, and then I'll let other board members talk. The one that stood out to me when I initially reviewed it was the back porch addition. This little, I guess, a thought about maybe considering the horizontal, beam locations on the sides and rear. If you might consider, or did you consider that being trimmed out, similar to the front porch, where it would be some sort of flat trim that would match your front porch, and then just have the siding in the gable itself? Does that make sense?
Yes, what we can do with that is, what we have done is we have lowered the porch beam to provide a little more protection between the sun and weather and so forth. We can raise that to a standard height like the front porch beam and do the same wrap as the front porch, which will increase the column height.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have an issue with that.
Okay. That's great. I think that would be a nice, just a visual improvement and to tie it together. I'll let other board members comment on other items. Carol or Tracy or whoever wants to go.
Yeah, I had the same comment on the rear, so I like that revision. That seems to make sense. Also on the rear elevation, it looks like that transom window may not have the same head height as the other windows. I wasn't sure if that was intentional, or can we move that down?
Yes, we'll take a look to see if we can move that down. We need to finalize the materials for that shower and see if we can lower that due to that transom being at the top portion of the shower with 8-foot ceilings. So we will try to lower that down to the same head height.
Okay, and that makes sense.
Another comment I had was on the side elevations where we've got the band board coming across and there's just a little sliver of siding in between that and the window trim?
Yes, we can raise that window up to meet with that trim.
It'll probably be a little bit easier to construct too.
All right.
I'm looking
And
through, I
then-
think that was it, yeah.
And then, okay, thank you, Tracy. And then Carol, you had a few extra things. I think some of the similar comments, but
Yeah, on the front elevation, there's a gable that's above the garage window. And currently, there's no horizontal trim separating the vertical and the horizontal siding. And just for consistency's sake, I think it would be nice to add that piece of horizontal trim there, because that's the way that intersection between the horizontal and vertical is addressed in the rest of the design. So would you guys be agreeable to that?
Yes, we will add that piece of trim.
Okay. Let's see here. And these are just kind of some minor items, but I think it would help kind of refine things a little bit. On the front porch roof, toward the right side, that roof currently extends beyond the sidewall. And I think it would look a little more finished and coordinated to just cut that edge of roof extension off so it doesn't extend beyond the sidewall.
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah, and this isn't just again another very minor item, but and it may be what you intend, but right now it looks like the face of the trim around the column bases is just right on the edge of the concrete. Is that what you had in mind, or was there going to be a little space where the concrete would not align right with the face of the trim?
We will have a turn down slab, so they'll be 1.5 to 2 inches beyond that column base.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, I thought that's probably what you had in mind, but I just wanted to verify.
Yep.
Let's see here. And then going around to that right side elevation, I appreciate that some windows have been added there. You know, and I believe David had a comment too about the stair window. I mean, I think it would be, you know, lovely to have that window and get some really nice light into your stair. The other windows on the project that are large have a taller, narrower look. And I was wondering if y'all would consider making that window maybe a bit taller and a bit narrower, so the proportions would be more similar to the rest of the windows?
Yes, that window now is currently a 5 by 5 window. We can make it 4 foot wide by 6 foot tall. Would that suffice?
Oh, I think that would look very nice. Thank
Okay.
you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Agree.
And then also too, to just kind of cut down on some of the expanse of siding that we have, especially since this elevation is visible from the street. I think it would be helpful to add a window to that bedroom number 2 on the side. And it would also make that bedroom a little bit nicer to have windows in 2 directions.
Yes, now on the side elevation, I know in the pre-meeting there were, discussion about adding some windows at the great room above the built-ins, but those built-ins are going to go all the way to the ceiling. And then as far as adding an additional bedroom or window in bedroom 2, we do have the twin window, obviously on the front elevation. And by adding a side window, we are concerned about furniture placement in that room. So we were trying not to do that.
Would you consider like even I'm just kind of looking at something that would help break that up. Maybe not a tall window, but a shorter one that you could put a piece of furniture underneath.
Okay, we can take a look at that, yes.
Okay, great. Let's see, I'm flipping through my plans here. Excuse the sound effects of paper in the microphone. Just want to make sure I've got everything here. Okay, I think that that addresses all of my comments.
Okay.
All right, and then David, did you have anything else to add? Because I know you had made some comments about a lot of this stuff, but is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just and I apologize, my drawings are at home. I was expecting to be home for this meeting and I'm at work. Just in general that the elevation not on hillside but facing Summit Place, being a primary elevation, the windows are just sort of not composed, if you will, with um if I remember correctly, there's like three windows and they didn't really share head heights or proportions, and I know that if we suggested windows on the great room, then that would mess with the shelf placements and the heights of them. Um, just trying to figure out how to better compose elevation since it is a primary elevation along Summit Place. Um, and I don't have a suggestion or a just it's more of a comment that I would like to I'd wish to see something more composed where the windows inside the house make sense from inside, which is the most important value, I believe, to the homeowner.
Mhm.
But just trying to think about how they better align with each other and are harmonious, if you will. Yeah, that's the word, harmonious.
Um,
Um,
Dave, I think, I'm looking at the drawings and I know you don't have yours, but I think making that that large central window um 6
Yeah.
feet tall by 4 feet high, I think that will help,
okay,
to me anyway, I think that would help the composition because um it would be similar to the proportions of the other windows. And they are going to look at adding a shorter window into the bedroom,
okay,
bedroom 2, and it looks like that might be able to align with one of the windows below. So
okay.
Yeah.
I think that might help address your concerns. I know it's really hard kind of when you can't see the drawings.
Right, right. And I reviewed these on Saturday, so there's a few days uh in between my review. So, okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just, I'll just say for Grace and Jackie both, to kind of support the vertical window at the stair, I think I think it'll look a lot better with the rest of the house. So I think that's really helps address David's concern as well. So I think I think that's a good move for your team to do that. I think it'll look great from the inside and out. And I do second what David's comment was, the windows in the house are the most important part of it. So compositionally, if you wanted to consider adding that a smaller window at the second bedroom, and this is just me thinking, you go into that bedroom and you look to the right and you see the big windows and you're looking to the left and it's a blank wall. If there was a smaller square window, at that corner of that room that maybe align with the one below it, that might look nice on the outside, and then enhance the interior of that space. So just something, our team, or I think our group would basically say, that would be something that you could do if you, wanted to do. But if you want to consider that, one other thought that came into my head when I was thinking about that is, for me, like you could even swap one of the two windows that are on the right-hand side, upper side in the great room. If you wanted to put one of those in that bedroom and one in the great room, I think that's an option too, myself personally. So I just kind of wanted to add that to the right side elevation discussion, just to let you know what I thought. But we could make that bedroom number 2 an option for you guys. So.
Okay.
All right, well, I think we've been through the list and, you know, simple enough, I think, for us to be able to make a motion on this, just with the discussion we had, so you guys can move to the next step, I think. Which is getting your plans approved
Yes, thank you.
and getting your house built, so.
Yes,
The most important pieces.
yes.
Okay. So we'll just, Carol or Tracy, sorry, David. I'm gonna ask one of you to read a motion for 116 Summit.
Understood.
Okay. All right, so Carol or Tracy, please, if you would.
Tracy, if you want to go ahead. If not, I've got my list here, but everybody check the list, okay?
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you've been taking notes, I have some notes, but I don't feel confident I caught all of our modifications.
Okay, so group effort here,
Yeah.
that make sure that I've got everything included, okay?
Yep,
Okay, I will make a motion to approve 116 Summit Place with the following understandings. All of the trim is 5.5 inches wide. On the front elevation, at the gable above the garage window, horizontal trim will be added to separate the vertical siding from the horizontal siding. There'll be a 1 to 1.5 inch perimeter of concrete between the column base and the edge of the porch. The porch roof will be shortened so it does not extend beyond the right side wall. Typical to all of the elevations, the windows will be adjusted so that they're to eliminate the small sliver of siding that's between the window trim and the horizontal trim. The window, the large window on the right side elevation at the stair will be taller and narrower. It will be changed to be 4 feet wide by 6 feet high. There's an option to add a window to bedroom number 2 on the right side elevation, and an option to move one of the windows that's drawn on the second floor as a twin over to the position in bedroom 2. On the rear elevation, the horizontal window in the bathroom will be moved down to match the head height of the other windows, if it's possible with the shower installation. At the back porch roof, the column height will be increased. There'll be flat perimeter trim around the perimeter of the roof to match the look of the beam on the front porch, and the vertical siding will be only at the rear gable. And did we get it all? I think that's it.
I think
yeah.
you got it
I
all.
think so too. Looking through, yep,
Second.
All right, all in favor?
I.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so we are approved. I think there was another comment. So you're approved, Grace and Jackie, and someone did make a comment just to make sure someone had asked, I think we forgot to mention, someone had asked, this is not part of the motion, if you guys were considering any additional windows in the basement, or not. Just throwing that out there before I forgot. So.
You know, that did come up in our pre-meeting. It looks like you're considering some, pretty nice basement finish space, and it looks like there's not going to be not a lot of natural light down there. And I don't know if that was by design or if you guys were, maybe considering doing some additional windows, because this would be the time to do it. So yeah, that came up in the pre-meeting, but it's not a requirement or anything. It's just something to think about.
Okay,
Yeah.
we will take that into consideration.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Jackie and Grace. You're approved as noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Go build.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
good
we'll
night.
go build.
All right. Jim and Joel, was there anything else for this group tonight?
Thank you very much. That will conclude tonight's meeting.
All right, with that, we're adjourned. We'll see everyone when?
July 3.
See you guys July 3rd. Have a good night.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Right.
Hmm?